second delay. It already picked me up. Hey, everybody. Man, starting these live streams are so strange. Welcome to Topic Tuesday. Thank you very much for being here. I am joined with my lovely friend, Joey.
Hello.
And my name is Jessica. I am the, founder of Misfit Sanctuary. I am a metaphysical minister and a spiritual life counselor, theta healer, motivational speaker, beyond quantum healing practitioner. And I'm sure, there's some other stuff that I'm missing.
And so much more.
And more. Hi, Betsy. Thanks for joining today. Sorry that we're running late. It's been a morning. It's been a whole morning. Okay, let me get my screen set up. There we go. All right. Just making sure everything looks good.
Okay. Hi, Becky. Aw, she said hi to me too. That's sweet. She's such a diehard. I love it.
She's the best. She really is. She's just the best. I love Betsy so much. We gotta plan a catch-up call, Betsy. Oh, and Melinda's here too. Melinda, I'm so sorry that I have not messaged you back. I'm promised that I didn't forget about you. I'm going to explain in a minute. Things have been a little crazy. But thank you for being here. I love that you guys are here. Yay, it makes me so happy. Thank you. And hi to anyone that's joining afterwards. So today our plan is to talk about ascension symptoms, or all of the wonky things that can happen as we start raising our vibration. And so that was the plan. And then some stuff happened for me that is, I guess, it's kind of in alignment with this stuff. So I'm going to start by sharing a little bit of what's going on with me, so that you guys can understand if I feel a little out of it. Melinda joined the other day. I did an update on experience with Lyme and the new protocol that they put me on, which is taking 30 milligrams of ivermectin every day, opposed to 12 milligrams twice a week. And then also adding biofilm disruptors of atoba bark and cat's claw. And today is day 3, and it is affecting me. I want to be very careful about the way I speak about my experience. So if it seems like I'm searching for the right words, it's because I'm trying to do inner work to make sure I'm speaking about my experience in a way that I would like to have created for myself. So I'm trying not to be like, shit's fucked. But
Get better.
In the spirit of authenticity, we'll do this in the affirmations, right? Although this is something that we go over in coaching, in a coaching session, we do something called this and that affirmations, because we want to honor what is real and see what is real and speak things into existence that we want. And so, although I feel really rather terrible right now. um, I also know that 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 means it's working, and that means that my body is gonna heal even more, and I am really excited to align with that healed, even more healed version of myself. And so it is. The I was expecting the die-off symptoms to be more physical. Like I was expecting physical pain. And instead, what I'm getting is neurological, mental, emotional symptoms. So it's a little hard for me to find my words. And I am experiencing something called depersonalization and derealization, which is to say that nothing feels real. Like it's nothing feels real. I don't feel real. Like this right now doesn't feel real. It feels like I'm in a movie or a dream. I feel very like kind of floaty in my body. I'm way like, I keep grounding myself, keep grounding myself, and keep grounding myself because I don't feel grounded in my body. My thoughts are floaty, I don't know if that makes sense. Nothing looks real. Nothing looks real. Everything is super bright. And that can feel also bring on anxiety. Although right now I don't feel very anxious. I can. And so that's what's going on with me, you guys. So if I seem out of it, I'm not taking drugs. I'm not stoned. I wish I was stoned right now. I really do. If I had
more real.
I could really handle like a freaking gravity bong right now. But that's not the situation. So, so that's what's going on. Yeah, Betsy, sounds like you feel drugged or high almost. I wish it felt that good. I wish it felt that good. So anyway, so yeah, so and the way that kind of plays, I'm sorry if I close my eyes a lot, like it really is strange to have my eyes open, and it helps me collect my thoughts when I close my eyes. And so this plays into the whole thing about ascension symptoms, because, healing, we're ascending. That's what's happening when we're healing or like ascending, raising our vibration, getting into 5D reality. This is all the same thing. It all means the same thing. It's all the same thing. And so I know that my experience right now, however uncomfortable, is part of my ascension. And that makes me excited. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway that I hope y'all can glean from today, is that it's all perspective, and it is the way we choose to view or perceive our experience that will make us or break us, right? And So we want to be really like that relentless self-responsibility, and take responsibility that we create our experience. I have a choice right now. I could, and not that there would be anything wrong with it. I've certainly done this in the past, but I could tell the story that something is wrong. I could lean into the panic. I could cancel everything and lay in bed and I could cry. And if that is what felt good to me, right? Because sometimes feeling like shit feels good because we need to process and be present with the stuff, right? So if that felt good, if that brought relief for me to grieve my experience, I would allow myself to do that. But in this case where I'm at, I have done that enough. And I know that me doing that creates more of that. And so because I want to have a different experience, I then need to slip in or want to slip into what I call relentless self-responsibility and harness the power that I have as a creatrix and manifest the reality that I want based on alchemizing my present experience, emotion, and vibration. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so, and it can be really challenging. It can be really challenging, especially because one of the main ascension symptoms that we often experience is, well, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about what is ascension. Okay, what is ascension? What are we talking about? Raising our vibration. What the fuck does that mean? So that's basically just the understanding that everything is vibration. And this isn't spiritual woo-woo. This is like physics. Everything is vibration. And the denser the vibration, the more physical the thing is. And so the everything starts in a thought, in a vibration, and then as it thought about more, it will become more dense. And the more dense it becomes, the more physical it becomes, and the more active in our 3D reality it will be. And that goes for, that's how like our trauma can create illness in the body. It starts as a thought experience, an emotion experience, and then it has such an impact that we we will then be thinking about it, and this gets tricky because you're like, well, if I just don't think about it, then it won't happen. But that's not it. It's not thinking about it. It's more your consciousness thinking about it, or your subconscious thinking about it. And then it becomes more dense and will solidify in the body and cause a symptom or an illness. And the whole reason that happens is because your body is a communication device between your human experience and your higher self. Self will use your body and the symptoms that you have in your body to guide you towards figuring out what vibration, emotion, trauma is stuck in your subconscious that you need to look at to release and heal and let go of. And when we do that, when we listen to the body, when we look at the stuff and we process it and heal it and release it, then we no longer have that dense vibration in the body causing the symptom or the illness, and thus we would say we've raised our vibration. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so that's basically what all of that means. When we say we're ascending, it's regarding the fact that we are eating less dense foods. We are getting more light on our body. We are healing the trauma. Therefore, our bodies are becoming less dense. And as we become less dense, it becomes possible for us to transcend into other dimensions, like the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. So that's where 5D reality comes in, because that's basically where we are capable of being at when we heal the traumas that have our body stuck in the dense. And so as we start this ascension process, often we won't even know, like I believe that before we come into this reality, we meet with our soul team and our guides and all of the other people that we have soul contracts with, and we say, hey, I'm from this higher reality, and I'm going to take on this low dense vibration and all this trauma, because I know at some point I'm going to wake up, right? I'm going to know something's going to happen. You're going to be a catalyst. This trauma will happen. It'll, something will happen. And I'll know it's time to start working on the trauma, and I'll work on the trauma. And as I work on the trauma, I raise not only my own vibration, but that raises out, it causes other people to go, and they wake up, they raise their vibration. As we all raise our vibration, we become less dense for the earth, and thus Mama Gaia gets to raise her vibration. She's raising her vibration on her own. She's also on her own journey. And it can get complicated, because as she's raising her vibration, right? I'm not going to get into that. That's a little further down the road, but I will explain that. I'll explain our connection with the earth and what that has to do with ascension later. And so how do we know it's time to wake up? How do we know we're ascending? How do we know, right? Well, typically what will happen is you'll develop some sort of physical ailment, right? And or become depressed, because the first stage of ascension is feeling unhappy, despondency, feeling lost. People will call it the dark night of the soul. And people will enter a massive depression. And this is why I say depression is great, because it's the first step. It's the first step. And if we lived in a society where when someone was depressed, we didn't drug them up, we went to them and said, oh, your superpowers are going to start coming in soon. Like, oh, you're ready to flourish and grow and do what you came here to do. This is so exciting. Let me help you through it. Like that, wouldn't that be wonderful? That's why I want to create Misfit Sanctuary Rehabilitation Center to do exactly that. But live in that kind of society as of now, although I look forward to it being the regular. The society we live in now says, oh, you're depressed, there's something wrong. You're not doing it right. You should be ashamed of yourself. You need to get your shit together, because we need you to be a worker. And if you're so depressed you can't work, and then we become more dense and more dense and more dense, because the powers that are in control of this earth want us to stay in that denseness. So they'll do all kinds of stuff to confuse us. But the first stage is the dark night of the soul, and it can take years. It can take years, depending on how much trauma you've experienced. And healing can look like all kinds of things. But if you're experiencing a dark night of the soul, I highly encourage just reach out for support from someone, if not myself, someone who is aware of going through the stages of ascension, to get yourself support. Because when you have that support, it's just so much easier to go through it. It's so much easier to go through it knowing, oh, there's a purpose to this. I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm actually supposed to be feeling all of this pain and all of this suffering, right? Like, oh, it's like, it's like suffering with a purpose. And when you can get into that place where then you can allow all the rest, deep rest. You need deep rest when you're depressed. Your body is going to want to sleep all of the time because it's about to use a lot of energy to go through this ascension. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and again, like that goes into what I was talking about before, where, you can go through your perspective or your situation and choose a perspective of like, yeah, I feel like shit right now, but it's gonna feel good to feel like shit. And what I mean by that is you're gonna always want to feel into this space here, this heart between your like and right under your belly button. And if you feel into that, there are times where like, man, I love a good melancholy day.
Yeah.
Rainy days, sad movies, sad songs, crying, writing poetry. Sometimes that feels great, right? And so when we're going through the dark night of the soul, we want to do it as long as it feels good. And we got to be able to hold these two different perspectives here, because some people will say like, oh, but feeling like shit doesn't feel good. Sometimes it does. And if you're in it, you understand what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about, Joey? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. It's like, we just really have to get our minds wrapped around that there's a reason, it's not all sunshine and butterflies. We're definitely here to have, basically that polarity experience. And there's gold, there's benefit to feeling like shit.
You gotta sift through the shit to find the glitter sometimes, like it's this understanding also that you kind of have to, you become depressed because you are waking up, you're seeing all of the things that you're going to ascend up out of.
Yes.
So, and if you are going through the dark night of the soul, and you haven't seen already, Bo Burnham has an amazing musical documentary on Netflix that I highly recommend. He went through quite the dark night of the soul and recorded it during COVID and put music to it. And it's just amazing. It's so good. Very cathartic. Yeah. What is it called? I want to make sure, because he's got a few, and his older stuff before his awakening was very nice. Oh, Inside Bo. That's what it's called. Or Bo Inside, something like that. But I highly, highly recommend it. It's incredible and very cathartic to watch him come apart in musical.
Nice.
So yeah, allowing yourself to feel all the grief, because again, we're not only processing our own grief, but at that point, we're also processing collective grief. And And the thing is to lean into it. The rule is don't kill yourself. That's right. That's the rule. Don't kill yourself. And same time, go into it and lean into it. And kind of the more you lean into it and process it with support, the faster it can pass. It's when we're in resistance to it that's when it's going to take longer, because you're not fully present with the experience you need to be having. And so it's going to take longer, right? So lean into it. And oftentimes with the dark night of the soul, you will also have anxiety, right? Yeah. Anxiety, man. And the anxiety can really, between the depression and the anxiety, it can cause us to start telling a story that we don't want to create for ourselves. And so that's why I think it's really important to understand that there are ascension symptoms, so that you can go through them with awareness and purpose, and realize that, you know, I want to go through this and feel it and lean into it, and also be mindful about what I'm creating, right? And so with the anxiety, I remember, so I had been having, I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. And I was at work and I had been having crippling anxiety for years. And to the point where I would run to the emergency room because I thought I was going to have an aneurysm. It was absolutely crippling. I tried all the meds for anxiety, nothing was working. And then I was working at this awesome little place called Local Roots. It was like a bar, and like it was almost like a corner store, but
nice.
It was super cool. And one of my favorite people, her name is Alexandra Love. She's the lead singer in Beautiful Chorus. I highly recommend y'all look up Beautiful Chorus. It's great music for Ascension. Beautiful. Nice. They're so beautiful. My friend Mecca is in it also, or was in it at some point. Wonderful. They have the most beautiful voices, and it's just so soothing to listen to them. So Alexandra walks in, and she's this beautiful, you know, voluptuous woman, and she's got her shaved head, and she's just a goddess. She's just an absolute goddess. And she walks in, and I'm having my panic attack, and she hugs me. She just like brings me into her bosom and all of her love and her softness and her goddessness. And she was like, she gave me a different perspective. She was like, you know, what if you're just ascending? What if you're just, oftentimes we have anxiety because we are raising our vibration, and that feels different in our body. You're vibrating at a higher frequency. And so it'll make your heart, do palpitations, and it'll cause all kinds of stuff in your body. And it's not because something is wrong, it's actually going really right. And she said that, and my soul went, oh, yes, yes. Okay. And so whenever I was feeling anxiety, I would ask, first of all, is this mine? Because as an empath, when we have our boundaries intact, as I did not then, we'll feel everyone's emotions. And then we'll tell ourselves a story about those emotions. And then we'll create based off of that story. And so ask yourself, first of all, is this my anxiety? Is it mine? Do I have a reason for having this anxiety? Is there something happening right now, or is it, if it's just kind of coming out of nowhere and there's nothing, oh, maybe I'm processing anxiety for the collective right now. Let me put my boundaries down, my energetic boundaries down. Let me ground myself, because this isn't what I want to be doing right now. Right. And it gives us that opportunity to practice being a healthy empath and be able to blur those lines when we want to, and not just be, at the whim of everyone else's emotions. And then going into, is it, this could be just an ascension symptom. Am I having an ascension symptom? And through the anxiety, when we speak truth, we got to do a little side note here. When we speak truth, our body will tell us. Our body will respond. And the way our body, and this is so important, like I want to do a whole topic Tuesday on just this, but this is so incredibly important, you guys. Your body will tell you if you are thinking something that is not in alignment with your higher truth, and or if it is, right? And it's kind of like dowsing, testing, but it's you're feeling into that space that I was telling you, from right below your belly button to like this right up in your chest here. You're feeling into that space of truth, right? Like, and that solar plexus and heart chakra area, that gut heart area. And if you are saying something that is not true, if your guides are trying to tell you, hey, what you're thinking is not true, then you will feel tightness, restriction. You will feel heaviness. You'll feel like, it'll feel like, just shit. It'll feel like shit. It'll feel horrible. If you say something that is truth, you'll feel relief. You will feel lightness. You will feel ease. You'll feel like, oh, right? You'll feel that relief. And so you can go through your life paying attention to that space and paying attention to your thoughts. And when you catch yourself thinking a thought that has you tight in your heart gut space, then make a habit of going, oh, wait a minute. My guides are telling me that's not true for me. Might be true for other people, but that's not true for me. Oh, okay, what is true? And then you go through a process of finding what's true for you. And let's write, can we write a note, Joey, to do a topic Tuesday on the finding the truth?
Yes.
I don't have my notebook with me.
Yep.
And so, and that's not to say, because it can be really easy to say, oh, well, that's spiritual bypassing, or then I'm just going to be saying positive stuff. And that's not true either, because just because it's a positive thing doesn't mean it's true for you. And my big example for that is when if my mom were around, bless her heart, but we had a really tumultuous relationship. And if I were to say to you, hey, my mom's going to come in and she's awesome and she's so nice and she's just the best thing since apple pie. You're going to love her. She's sweet. And that might be really nice. That's a nice thing to say. But in my gut, it makes me feel like I want to vomit.
Yeah.
It's not my truth. Now, if I said, hey, my mom's going to come in here and she's a fucking handful, she's probably going to say some really inappropriate things and make you feel uncomfortable. So if you want to leave, let me know. We'll get the fuck out of Dodge. That might not be positive, but it's my truth.
Yeah.
So you can trust that, right? You can trust that you're not going to allow yourself to spiritually bypass, But when you have a hard time making decisions, using that can be helpful in choosing which thought to follow. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yes, it
Okay.
does.
So, so in these spaces of anxiety, if you ask yourself, is this, I am ascending. If you say I'm ascending and your gut tightens, then it's not an ascension symptom and perhaps there's something else to look at.
Yeah.
But if you say this anxiety is just a side effect of that I'm ascending, and you feel that's like, if you feel like, oh, yay, then oh, okay, this, or you can go, is this anxiety or is this excitement? Because oftentimes we get confused with feeling excited about something and being anxious about something, you know? And
Yeah.
so we have to get into like checking in with our body of like, is something actually, is this mine? Is something wrong? Or is this just ascension? This is just doing the work to heal and I'm ascending. And um, and so that's, that will help go through the anxiety a lot more. And there is a whole process that I can walk you guys through in another video of, well, what do we do when it's not ascension and there is anxiety for another reason? That that's for another time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so anxiety can often be a part of it. The depression is, let me look here. The depression is the springboard, and the anxiety is the springboard that takes you into the next stage. And again, so all of this can start because of, there's like a life crisis that usually happens, death, divorce, illness, trauma, and that'll start the process. And then suddenly you will begin to have these shifting perspectives. You'll just notice that you're starting to see things a different way. And randomly, new perspectives will be on your news feed, and it catch your attention. Or you'll start, like for me, my spiritual, like my Kundalini awakening, and that's another word for ascension. It's like your Kundalini awakening is like the big part of that process. And mine happened, I feel like it happened really after I had my kids.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing their energy into my body just shifted my body to a massive degree, woke up my energy. And I went into postpartum depression first, and then I went into postpartum psychosis, and I was in and out of the psych ward for 4 years. And they were drugging me. During that time, I attempted suicide 6 times. I did once, and they brought me back, thankfully. And they had me on 9 different medications: antipsychotics, anti-anxieties, antidepressants, mood stabilizers, all kinds of stuff. And I ended up talking about the perspective shift, right? I mean, I was depressed, to say the least. I was depressed. I was hallucinating. It felt like I was walking between two worlds, and I was tightrope. And on this side of the world was the world everyone else could see. And this side of the world was demons and angels and spirits and just craziness and hearing voices and hearing music, and like my brain would do this thing. It would create a symphony out of sounds in my space.
Wow.
And I was walking the middle, and I would drive myself insane because my fear was, what if I go fully into the world that no one else can see, and I forget what's reality, because both worlds were so real. At one point, I didn't sleep for 6 weeks because there was a demon in my closet.
Oh gosh.
And it was tough. That's, again, we'll get into that in story time. But then suddenly I started to have these perspective shifts, and your guides will bring you information in the most beautiful ways. And like at that point, I was just on social media a lot. And so my guides used books and social media and people in my life bringing these ideas in. And I ended up reading an article about how there's a tribe or a town or village in Africa where, when someone goes through the kind of experience that I was having, they saw it as a spiritual experience, and that someone was getting their superpowers, or they had something attached to them that needed to be taken off, or both. And when I read that, my entire body and spirit went, yes, that is it. That is what this is. And in the village, they walk you through the process of your awakening. And then after the person heals, a lot of them choose to stay in the village to walk new people through. And it just kind of carries on like that. And so I was like, that's what this is. And I came off of all of my medications and went through having the perspectives shift. And it was incredible for a while. During that, like, it starts to feel better because, like, it's hard because you're seeing how things are totally fucked and how we're doing things the wrong way, right? In a way that's hurtful or harmful to ourselves or the planet. We're all living cattywampus and out of alignment. But then it gets like this kind of, well, there is a different way, and you can do it different, and there's another possibility. And usually during that time, people become quite obsessive because now they're awake and they see how crazy everything is, and then they feel an intense responsibility to tell everyone else how fucked up everything is. So right. And so those are the people who are going to want to talk about how the world is falling apart and the government doing all the things, and billionaires, millionaires, living the life they're living, and Hollywood. Like, when you're having someone, or when you're in the space where you have this immense like drive to tell everyone how dangerous and you're in the middle of your awakening, like you're in the beginning. That's one of the stages. And as you go through it, that comes out because you yourself begin to seek answers. You begin to seek answers. You begin to seek meaning. Oftentimes it can come through the experience experience of trying religions or philosophies or psychedelics, or we all find meaning and answers in our own ways. And oftentimes it's not just one way, it's going to be, many. For me, I began to receive communication from, I call them my soul counsel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're aliens or I don't know. I just know that I started to hear them talking to me. Not enough to the point where I was like really having a conversation with them yet, but I started to get these divine like downloads, and this clarity would come in, and this awareness would come in, and they would tell me, like what I needed to work on in these like whispers kind of a way. Like when I first, like they told me I could heal my body by raising my vibration. I don't know what that looks like. And they literally walked me through the entire process. They walked me through the process of reparenting myself and parenting my children in a helpful way. So I feel very blessed that and I still do receive divine communication, which is something that I've been hesitant to talk about because I know it sounds like schizophrenia, but I was afraid of schizophrenia because my dad, my biological father, they believe he may have dealt with schizophrenia. Um, and when I was like in story time, we'll hear about it. I went through a whole process where I realized that it is not malevolent.
Yeah.
It never leads me to hurt myself or other people. And that's the rule, is if I hear anything that says to hurt myself or hurt someone else or lie or cheat or steal or do something low vibration, it's not that I'm not to listen to it and to completely let it go. So I feel safe. And now I've been working with them for so long. They help me with my clients. I feel very blessed. Not everybody gets that. Like for me,
It's true.
I think we all do get it to some degree. It's just how comfortable are we going to be with leaning into that reality. A lot of people, I think, have a fear of schizophrenia.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they can only go so far with it. But I think we all do end up developing like divine communication.
Yeah. And I would say, like you have a very, like, do you think like, is yours like really audible or is it like a knowing? Or is it kind of both?
It's both.
Mhm.
Have full-on conversations with them. They will show me pictures or symbols, and I'll somehow know what they mean.
Okay.
Or they'll show me images of what I need to be doing. Like with the kids, they would like in my mind play out a scene of how I actually needed to respond instead of the way I was responding.
Nice. So you saw like a little movie of it.
Yeah. And also I hear them, not like I'm hearing you,
Mhm.
my mind. I don't hear they're not like talking in my ear, but they are absolutely talking to me the way that I talk to you now.
Absolutely.
They're my best friends.
Oh, yeah, that's so beautiful.
I feel so grateful. I feel so incredibly grateful. And I kind of feel like I'm supposed to do something with that.
I think you already are.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Joey, like in sessions, a lot of the really powerful stuff that comes through is from them.
Yeah.
I just don't. I try to like make sure I give praise and thanks to my guides and give them credit, but I don't necessarily say, oh, this is what they're saying.
Right.
And I've often like been really curious what would happen if I started to experiment, like sitting with people and letting them talk to them, like, channeling,
Yeah.
you know. I'm not quite there yet, but I am very curious. It makes me feel excited to think about that. So I think that that's something I'm working towards. Um, so, yeah, but there will be, some divine, into downloads, breakthroughs, that will kind of ease the, suffering. You'll start to see things in new ways. You may have a number of spiritual experiences and breakthroughs and all of that, and that's it's kind of like the calm before the storm. Because it really is like a roller coaster. Like it starts to feel light, and you're like, oh, okay, I get it, I understand it, and you start to work through the traumas because you have the realization usually that, oh, it's time to start healing.
Yeah.
And then the rug gets pulled out from underneath you.
Yeah.
Because then so if you think like you're living on this vibration, and now you realize, oh, I'm supposed to be raising my vibration. I'm healing, I'm releasing, I'm becoming lighter. And then you start coming up out of that vibration that you were in, that plane. Think of it like planes. And
Yeah.
when you're on one plane, you're open to whatever else is on that vibrational plane. And
Yeah.
and when you move up, it's almost like an overlay of that world, but with different opportunities because now you're a different vibrational match. So it's not like the outer world changes, but it does change based on the available outcomes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think the way you said overlay was really good because it's like you really don't have access to any less than you did before. You have access to more.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Way more. And it can be with the same person,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll have a different experience with them because you are in a different vibration than you were when you dealt with them prior. So that's how, like, as we raise our vibration, oftentimes other people will behave differently around us, even with them not doing any work or anything like that, because now we are a vibrational match to that higher vibration of that person. Or what will happen is the purge. And
Yeah.
purge, Joey knows. The purge is when you raise your vibration and the people that you have interacted with on that plane are not raising their vibration. They don't have that, they're not there. They don't have that capacity to come up to that vibration with you. And so then you end up pulling away and pulling away. And this vibration will do everything it can to suck you back down into it. It will guilt you, it will shame you, it will hurt you, it will do all kinds of things it'll beg you to get back down, come back down here where everything is comfortable. And you'll start to feel just like if you're pulling magnets away from each other, you'll feel this like resistance begin to grow between yourself and the world around you. And at that point, there will be people that will begin to, people, places, things, jobs that will begin to leave your life. They will leave your life even through death. People will die. What is no longer a vibrational match for you will fall away. It will either fall away or you will sink back down to the lower vibration. But the thing with doing that is once you've gotten a glimmer of the high vibration realm, going back down feels like death.
Yeah.
So it's like you're either going to choose to shift up or you're going to shift out, because you're going to go down, you'll be back in the depression, you'll be back in the chaos, you'll be back in the, and then that's where a lot of people choose to take their own lives.
Yeah.
Or they develop some severe illness and they die, right? You're like, this is the name of the game. You're going to shift up or shift out. So like really through everything that we're experiencing, really start asking yourself, do I want to shift up or do I want to shift out? It's really that simple.
It's so funny too, because this purge is, you know, when you talk about it, it's like, oh, good. You know, these are the things that no longer match my higher vibration. So it's good if they shift out. But shit, it can be your family. It can be your parents. It can be your mate, right? Your partner. You like, that's not always easy.
No. And that's why I think a lot of people end up going back down, because it is so hard. It's so hard. And then if you're going through this process and you're not aware that what you're going through is an ascension, it's very easy to go, what's wrong with me? Why is this happening? You know, and then you become lost again. You feel
Yes.
again, you're disillusioned again. It's this whole up and down thing. And what we tell ourselves about the experience we're having will determine if we continue shifting up or if we're going to shift back down. And yeah, it's brutal. I think the purge is just the worst part of it all. It is more than any physical pain that I had from my body communicating that I had trauma to heal. The purge was way worse, because like you said, it was my family.
Yeah.
It was Carlos.
Yeah.
You know, I had to look at the fact, and again, I had divine communication, so I did understand what was going through, but that didn't make it any less painful. That they were like, my guides were like, what are you going to do? You know, staying means continuing the trauma. It means, you know, keeping things as they were and lowering your vibration and lowering your vibration. Listen, for me, it was life or death.
Right.
Like my body was dying. I was desperate. And at that time, Carlos and I were toxic. We were absolutely toxic for each other. I was toxic.
Yeah.
My behaviors, the codependency I was experiencing, I had a narcissistic mom, so I had learned narcissistic tendencies that I used when I needed. I was a drug addict. I was, attention seeking. Like I was not responsible for myself. I was toxic.
Yeah.
So, and he was also that match, right? And so in order for me to shift up, I had to let go of all the things that were in that lower vibration so that I could, really go up and heal. And Melinda says, excellent description of the purge. I know this all too well. Yeah, and I feel like if a lot more people understood that that's what is happening, again, not that it takes the pain away, Because again, in the pain, we got to look at the trauma. We got to look at, well, how have I had this person in my life? How is, is the codependency? Is it an addiction? Is it a trauma bond? You got to look at all of that and heal and heal and heal and heal, and and that, then you end up in this period of intense loneliness because you're at this in-between stage where now you've got all the people out of your, and this purge can last for years. Okay.
Yeah.
It's leaning into it. We kind of have a little bit of control over how fast this happens. You can rip the band-aid off and say, you know what? I know what's happening right now. I know I'm going to align with that higher reality. Bye, y'all. Bye. Don't let the door hit you when the good Lord split you. You can be like that, but most of us, we will leave claw marks on these relationships.
Yeah.
And so it can take a while. And then eventually, most of the people that are that lower vibration, and again, this happens again and again and again and again at all the different stages. Every time you level up, you're going to have to look at your surroundings, because so if I'm here and then I level up here and I level up here and I level up here, I'm going to have way more awesome experiences up here than I did down here relationship wise, right? But still 10 levels above that. So even as awesome as I think this is, it's only going to be awesome for a little while, because as I shift up and shift up and shift up, then again, confronted with, oh, well, now I've outgrown this now. Now, for a while, this was good, but now I realize I didn't know what I didn't know. And now that I know, now I realize I can't have that relationship anymore. I got to let it go. And so it's like, it happens, in waves, and it just depends on how fast you're going through your ascension process. Some people go really slow through it, and some people, like myself, like fucking blast through it and the whole life becomes crazy and weird. So then you end up in this stage of intense loneliness, because all of the people you did have around you, you can no longer associate with, because those people are keeping you stuck or sick. And then you're by yourself. But again, even this is beautiful, because this is when we start to develop the relationship with ourselves. This is where because most of us have been running from ourselves for so long, we don't know who we are. We've been portraying a version of ourselves that is basically a trauma response to life, so that people will like us, so that people won't abandon us, so that we can have the job, so that we can have the attention, like whatever it is. And so in that space of loneliness, that is when we become our own best friend. That's when you really start to see what gifts do you have.
Yeah.
And really working on the relationship with self. And so if you use that time of loneliness, if you use it as that, like, oh, okay, instead of, oh, I'm so lonely, this is horrible, I don't have anyone around me. Not that it doesn't feel that way, but although it feels really horrible and I'm dealing with this loneliness, I also know this loneliness is a gift, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to lean into it, and I'm going to get to know myself, and I'm going to be my own best friend, and I'm going to learn to love me so fiercely that whoever else I bring into my life, they love me as fiercely as I love myself, or I know not to allow them in. So loneliness is such a key part of it. And we do ourselves a disservice when we, again, try not to lean into it, when we try to skirt the edge of it, it's, honestly, like, I'm thinking it's like trying to wean off of a drug instead of stop.
It's so funny. I think you're probably right. I think almost like with each upgrade, it almost is all like trying to wean off of a drug. Like anything
Yeah.
below that is at that point, it's going to have some consequences. You got to know, even if it helped you before, it's not doing it now. I also think it's really encouraging that, even if you do have to release these people from your life, you don't have to go, okay, this might be forever, because like you were able to come back together. Yeah. So it's not like it has to be forever,
Mhm.
but it doesn't mean, but it still has to happen for you to
Right.
be able to do that upgrade.
Right. Yeah. And thank you for bringing that up. That's such a great point, because that can help in letting go, is
Yeah.
that this doesn't have to be a forever thing. This is just a for now thing so that I can heal. Maybe they'll heal. Maybe I'll get to a point where whatever it was that was toxic, maybe I'm the toxic one. And since I'm healing now, the relationship is better. And that's what happened with Carlos. We took 5 years apart, and I did all the work on my codependency issues. And because I healed the mother wound of having the narcissistic mom, then his autism, which had presented as narcissism to me, like
Mhm.
received it was narcissistic because he's high functioning autistic. And I didn't know anything about autism at that point or anything. So it hit me like he's a narcissist.
Oh yeah.
And so when I no longer had that wound active, his behavior didn't hit that like that. And I was able to go, wait a minute, what's really going on here? And then we realized he was autistic. Um, and then it was like, oh, none of that was narcissism. That was all just him being an autistic person. And but because I had a narcissistic wound and that needed to be healed, that's what got triggered, right? And we worked on it, and he did his healing, and I did my healing. And then 5 years later, we ended up I never thought we would get back together, but
Yeah.
COVID brought us back together. And we were forced to be in the same environment for a year. And as we were there, we were like, you're different.
Yeah. Oh.
Hold on a second. Something's different here. And then we decided to give it a try after 2 years. So yeah, so it doesn't always mean forever, you
Yeah.
know. It can just be this is a right now. And so in that loneliness, that's where you get into the soul work. It gets deep. That's where you do the deep inner, you're doing shadow work. You're not just working on your perspective of things, you're doing the inner child work, you're doing somatic work and body work, and you're doing all of that stuff. And then what's awesome is, like, although that stuff can be painful, again, it's the kind of pain that feels good.
Yes.
Because it
There's a
feels.
belief in it. There's a
Yeah.
catharsis.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's totally cathartic, and it feels good. You know, when you're doing something that doesn't feel good, then there's a perspective shift that needs to happen so that it can feel good, or you need to do something different.
Yeah.
So after you do all of that, you're doing the shadow work. And then, generally people are eating better. They're surrounded by people who love them the way they love themselves. People are loving themselves. And then comes integration, joy, expansion, growth. I mean, it's like magical. It was just absolutely magical, 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 magical for so long, and then and that's wonderful. And um that's mostly where I live now. I mean, life, if life was like flat, then I would be dead. So there's ups and downs, but I know I have the coping skills now of how to navigate the ups and downs. I love myself fiercely so much. I love myself. I am so proud of myself. And I am surrounded by people who are doing this work, and they love themselves, or they're learning to love themselves, and they're in it, and we're in it together, and we're supporting each other. And I have just amazing friends. I love the work I do. I'm living life I genuinely love living. Where, just in 16, I wanted to die, and so it can happen like that. It can happen, but not fast, right? And so yeah. So, and then, I'll be honest, there's another phase of it that I experienced, which was when my guides got quieter, because they used to be in my face.
Mm.
And they were there all the time. I was surrounded by them all of the time. Yeah, all the time. I was never alone. And then it was like they backed up. And when I was like, where are you? What's going on? They were like, we got to make sure that you can apply what we've taught you without us telling you what to do. Right? Like,
Nice.
Here's your test.
It was the hands-on training period.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I went through, again, a little bit of sadness and sorrow because then it was like, oh my God, they're gone. And that lasted for a while, and I worked through it, and I chose to believe that it was temporary because I was getting this test, right? This is my test. I've got to show them that I learned and I know what to do. And okay, I feel sad. Well, watch me cope with it. You know what I mean? And I'm going to show you that I listened. And then the communication came back, and now I communicate with them, on a daily basis. But I do think I wanted to share that for people who go through that joy and that expansion, and then they start to go, well, where are my guides? What happened? They'll come back. You're just in the test. You're in the test phase. So I have a little list here of some, just it's a list of
Ascension symptoms.
Ascension symptoms. Thank you. So you feel as though your life is false. You're craving for meaning. You crave for meaning and purpose. And this is from lonerwolf.com. You crave for meaning and purpose. You begin deep questions like, who am I? You realize that a lot of what you've been taught is a lie. You feel completely lost and alone. You see through the illusions of society. You see how unhappy most people are. You want to purge your life. You begin experiencing deep empathy and compassion. You desire to be alone. Conversations seem shallow. You want to quit your job. You're thirsty for authenticity and truth. You become aware of your old negative habits. You experience anxiety or depression. You become more sensitive, which is good.
Yes.
You want the world a better place. You deeply want to understand who you are. Your intuition is heightened. There's more synchronicity. You feel more wonder, love, and curiosity. You have glimpses into your true nature, and you see that we are all one. And so if you're feeling in any kind of those ways, and even today, and gosh, if you can just walk away from one thing, like really, really, really hear me when I say, while you are in these experiences, especially when they're uncomfortable, take responsibility that you are a creator. You are a creatrix or a creator, and how you choose, and it is a choice, how you choose to view your experience will manifest either more of the negative thing you don't want or something positive. And so you really want to work with your thoughts and be present with your thoughts and take responsibility as a creator. Just experiment for 2 weeks. What happens in my life if I choose to believe that I am a creator and that my feelings and thoughts manifest outcomes for me? What happens if I choose to believe that and I choose to begin speaking in a way that I want to manifest, right? And it will shift everything. And an example of that today was like, we were driving here. I'm in Orlando, house sitting, dog sitting, and my boys and I were driving, and I'm dealing with this stuff, this derealization, depersonalization. It doesn't feel real that I'm even driving. Like, my emotions are all over the place. And I started to catch myself going into this, like, oh my God, what's going on? What's going on? And I went, wait a minute. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to create more of this. Okay. What thoughts could I choose to have that would make me feel better, that feel true, and make me feel better so that I can align with the reality that I want?
Yeah.
Said, well, and it just kind of like, if you ask, the thoughts will come. Your guides are there. If you talk to them, they will respond. You will have a thought, right? So I said, what thought could I have that could make me feel better? And the thought that came was, well, what if this reality looks weird because I just leveled up?
Yeah.
This work on leveling up. What if I just leveled up and now I'm in a new reality? What if I'm in a new timeline? What if I'm in a timeline where all my dreams are coming true? What if I'm in a timeline? What if I'm in a higher dimension? And my eyes just aren't used to it quite yet. And
Absolutely.
I'm used to it. And it filled me with so much excitement and joy that I was like, yes, that, woohoo! All right, that's what I'm going to choose to believe. And so it's totally okay that I feel, although it's uncomfortable, although it can be scary, I'm also willing to believe that there's a possibility that this could mean I leveled up. And I'm excited to see what I align with now, right?
Absolutely.
I felt better. I ended up having, the symptoms got a little less intense. And now I genuinely am excited to see what I align with, because I know my thoughts create my reality, right? And so, like, it can be this snowball that we get in motion towards the positive creation of things instead of the destruction and the negative creation.
Absolutely. I mean, just even looking in your eyes right now as opposed to an hour and a half ago, like, you're so lit up right now. And I can, you're probably still feeling a lot of it, but your flow is still happening because you let it happen, even in this state.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I love talking about all of this. This is just, I feel like I came here to share this kind of information. It fills me with so much joy. Through all of the shit that I went through in life, there was this little voice that said, just keep going. You're going to help someone with this. Like, you're going to learn how to go through this, and you're going to help someone else get through this. And it was just like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be of service. So, all right, I'm going to get through this. And now I get to live that life where this is what I do. This is, I eat, sleep, shit, and breathe this,
Yeah.
this is my life. I would do this whether I'm making money or not. Like, it just fills me up with joy to people on this process, because I know how hard it can be to not have clarity or understanding or, company. And so, and then I see what has happened by living a life that I love living, and how that's rippled out. And yeah, it can be difficult. Like, life is not always great. Like, there's shit, like, now there's shit that happens. But I know now how to cope with it and how to go through it with grace and ease and dignity. I know how to have mercy on myself. I know how to love myself through things instead of beating the shit out of myself,
Yeah.
and I want that for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
So how do you feel about that? You think that covers the the list of things? I feel like
That's all there is to say. No, there's no more. That's it.
yeah. So, are there any questions, or is there any place I wasn't clear? If you guys are watching and you have any questions, go ahead and ask before you, go ahead and ask before we,
Yeah, before we sign off, but of course, if you have questions anyway, you can still always add them later and we would try and get to them. Yeah, no, I think you just covered so much, and it's just how beautiful is it that you're experiencing a purge while you're describing the purge? Like a very emotional, mental purge going on. And so, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. It's, and now I'm excited to see what, although I'm
Yes.
I'm nervous because this is only day 2. So I'm nervous. I'm going to be honest. I have some apprehension because of the unknown. I also acknowledge that this is my path for my body's liberation, that I'm going to have so many more, like, so much more awareness and compassion and clarity and knowledge, and like, just gotta walk through the fire, so yeah.
Yeah, it's like there is walking through the fire that burns, and then there's also walking through the fire that's also very empowering.
Yeah, and that's what, like, at the end of your session the other day, when the guides came through with that concept of there's going to be discomfort. I've really been like mulling this over with them, Joey, since Thursday, because it's like we need to realize, we want to realize that in our attempt to avoid discomfort, we have actually become comfortable being really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We've become uncomfortable, or we become comfortable being uncomfortable in this place where we are destructive. We become comfortable with destructiveness and the negative and sickness. We have become comfortable. And the mirror of that, like, it's not even about trying to avoid discomfort. There's going to be discomfort.
Yep.
There is no avoiding it. There's going to be discomfort, but we can, just like we became comfortable in the discomfort of the downward spiral, we can become comfortable with the discomfort of growth, of upward spiral. It is just a choice. It is a choice because there is no avoiding discomfort. That's like, we've got to take that off the table. That's not even, there is no choice to avoid the discomfort.
True. And we got to stop beating ourselves up and thinking that we're not doing the important work if it's not a backslide. Sometimes,
No.
yeah.
No. And the only, and I mean, that's really the thing, is it's never a backslide, because sometimes even like we'll process something and we'll feel like we healed it and all of that, but then that thing will cycle back through our life on a deeper level, because now we have new knowledge, new awareness, new vibration, new understanding, and now we have to look at that exact same scenario and situation with this newness and process it on a different level. And then 10 years, 5 years later, it'll come back around, or, some things come around yearly for me that I have to look at, so it's never a backslide. We're right where we need to be.
Yeah.
And if you don't like where you are, lean into it and shift it.
Yeah.
If you genuinely don't like it, because again, sometimes we can like it. But if you get to a place where, oh, okay, I used to like feeling like shit, and now I realize I don't like feeling like shit, okay, then it's time to shift.
Yeah.
Melinda or Betsy, yes, we do need to talk soon. I love you very much. Thank you. And Melinda, you seem to pop up in my life with the right message at the right time. Oh, yeah.
That's the flow.
Thank you. Thank you, universe. Thank you for being here, Joey. Thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely.
Everyone who joined, and for anyone who sees this video, I just command blessings upon you of abundance in all of the right way and all of the right sizes. I just command, like that process that you go through, and you go through it with like as much grace and ease as possible. And so it is.
So it is.
So I am gonna go ahead and I think stop doing the stream. Sending everyone love and light, and make sure you join us on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for story time. We are picking up the story. I believe I'm at 9 years old now, and shit's about to get real. Shit's about to get real. So as if it wasn't already intense, like I've been sitting with that this week. Like, wow, that was a lot. But yeah, make sure you join us and we'll have more fun, and we'll see you guys later.